Today we are talking about the Supreme Court case Gideon versus Wainright, March 18, 1963. The slides we are lecturing over are by Vaughn Lugo, Nicholas Sue, and Amon Verk. Some background to this case. In 1961, Clarence Earl Gideon, a poor drifter, was charged with breaking into a pool hall in Panama City, Florida, with the intent to commit a misdemeanor. Gideon requested the court to appoint an attorney for his defense, but Florida state law only mandated appointed counsel in capital cases. Gideon was forced to represent himself, found guilty, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. In prison, he filed a handwritten petition to the Supreme Court, arguing that his constitutional right to counsel had been violated.
Question number 1, for a can of Red Bull. What was the issue that caused this case to go to the Supreme Court?
We move to the arguments of the petitioner. Gideon argued that his Sixth Amendment right to counsel was essential for a fair trial. He contended that the assistance of counsel was necessary to confront the prosecution's case and ensure a proper defense, regardless of the severity of the crime he was charged with. Now to arguments of the defendant. The defendant was the state of Florida. Florida argued that the right to counsel, as stated in the Sixth Amendment, applied only in federal cases and not to state proceedings. They contended that states had the discretion to decide whether to provide counsel in state criminal cases.
Question number 2, again for a can of Red Bull. What was one argument from the petitioner and/or the defendant?
Supreme Court ruling and constitutional justification. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, ruled in favor of Gideon. Justice Hugo Black delivered the opinion of the court. The court held that the right to counsel was a fundamental right essential for a fair trial and was made obligatory on the states through the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. The court determined that the Sixth Amendment's guarantee of counsel applied to state criminal proceedings via the due process clause, which ensures that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law.
Question number 3, for a can of Red Bull. What clause incorporated that assistance of counsel for the defendant is a fundamental right that is essential for trial?
Finally, court decisions / vote count. The Chief Justice at the time of the decision was Earl Warren. Vote count, the ruling was unanimous with a vote count of 9-0 in favor of Gideon.
Now, last question for a can of Red Bull or White Monster. What was the color of my tie in the previous picture?